So what's up? Today we're gonna be. I have no idea what my neighbors are doing. Oh my god! Like all of a sudden, just as I press record, they're talking super loud and they're like, I don't know. Monday. Even my dogs are bothered by it. So today, let's talk about lights. Actually, you've noticed that things are just a little bit brighter and cleaner. Actually, I'm gonna get into like a little bit like it's not the I'm making a review of the Godox VL3 200 soon. I'm waiting until I get my softbox and oh my god, this is my fault for picking the daytime to do it, but I also can't do it at nighttime because my wife is sleeping. I can never win when it comes to picking when to record videos unless I have my own studio or something like that. But either way, today is not about sound because I would fail horribly if that was today. Today we're talking about lights and I have my iPad with me. I'm trying to cut this video as little as possible. So just for the sake of like one, editing, two, I like to watch lengthier videos. And what I like to do is also put say as much as I need to say in the shortest amount of time while making those videos lengthy. Now, when it comes to this video, do not expect me to be the teacher or grandmaster or all-knowing when it comes to lights. This video is not to teach; it's just to talk about lights. How important do I view it? What projects you're doing or what is meant for, and we're talking about just for a visual aesthetic. And this is for people who love to make video, photography, um, or the people who love to do something, but it involves in that activity to sell or promote or convey for whatever you need to do. Like, if you love to, if right now, almost you're selling your meetings, everything you're doing is over Zoom call or streaming or something like that. Even though you care about the subject you're doing, lighting has an important play to it. And I do believe that even if it's something that you kind of need to know, like quite a bit, put some effort to look into it. Now, luckily, we're in a time nowadays where you can look up a video about everything, and you really don't have to crack a book and read up about it, like lighting theory or something like that. So first, if we're gonna talk about light, I want to talk about lighting for photographers first, and or video, because that does affect your choices on which to choose. For photographers, if you have no intention of ever making video, no intention of anything like that, it just makes sense to get strobe lights, speed lights, your Mathelinis, your Godox. It just makes so much sense because one, package size overall, like it does what the photographer needs more, and it outputs great quality of light for a lot less money. um, Great strobe light is around one third of the price of great video light. So let that sink in. When um, for photographers, we look at strobe lights is just a point of source that flashes. A lot of time with a device that actually attached to the hot shoe mount of a camera, and these photos are taken by giving uh, that's lit up the subject or lit up the area just the moment the camera takes the photo. And a lot of the time, the one cumbersome side of it is that you kind of have to do a couple test shots to see which type of exposure you want to use. But in the end, it still saves so much energy, and it's also down to the picture amount. You can know how long the battery lasts. And speaking of battery, the batteries are usually built into it, and these speed lights are like very compact, very small. So like a lot of time, like when it comes to a one-man band photographer, which mostly you photographers are, it makes it a lot easier for that person to use a speed light. And now if you're gonna take a video light with you everywhere, that takes a lot of work. That takes a lot of, you might need a crew to even just help you, or whoever you're taking videos of, if it's not yourself, they need to help you bring it along. They're also bigger, heavier. You also need a much more rugged stand. The my VL200, the most secure it feels is on my my C stand. Now, if no one's moving, sometimes I can get away with it by putting on other stands. But I, if you have if you have more than one C stand and you don't need it for something critical to hold something else, I would use your lights, video lights on C stands. But back to what I was saying about photography and their lights. When we're looking at uh, photography and their lights and why they choose speed lights, it's also because like what they how they mold and fix and engineer these speed lights around for photographers. They're choosing to, I'm sorry, I have my iPad here because I am going to reference it, because I need to look up some stuff. But we're choosing Speedlight to also um, make it easier to get modify and be mobile and moved around. And for photographers, a lot of you guys have to be extremely fast. Videographers and cinematographers, people who like to make videos, they have to be fast too. But for photographers, a lot of time you get clients that are on a fixed time, or clients that are not directly yours. They're like an indirect, like they're, say if it's a famous person, you gotta take a quick photo shoot of them at their house. You gotta be extremely quick, and so having gear that's very easy to manage. Most of the time, the receiver on that goes in a hot shoe mount of the camera. You can dial in the settings of the light from there, so that just make things a lot faster in that sense. And uh, the drawback is that the video people can never use it, and it wouldn't make sense for even if it could put out continuous LED or light output, it would never make sense for what the package offer to do so. And then when you're talking about accessories, shaping, modifying lights are, especially for photographers, extremely important because one, you always want to flatter your subject or flatter the overall theme of the subject. Say you don't use hard light or you use semi hard light or beauty dish when the subjects are extremely beautiful and you want to really show off the contours of the person's face with a touch of harsh light. They're sweaty and there is a fitness photo. And also, if the subject is actually extremely in shape, they're like 5% body fat. You want that harder light to show off every vascularity, every shred of a muscle. And then you use these soft lights for everyone else that isn't naturally as beautiful, but just to beautiful them up, just to make them uh, look more thinner, more better, leaner. A lot of time is knowing your lights, knowing how not how light works. Everyone knows how light works. It's just what you know. Well, I can't say everyone knows how light works. It's a point of source that through the distance loses spreads out and loses power. And when you use lights to actually accent and to make something interesting. That's why there are a lot of times that people use a three-pointed light rule, all that jazz, and also they'll color it just to mix things up or just give a point of interest. Photographers has a bit more of their own unique voice when it comes to taking photos, and also they have a lot more leeway of like working with poor lighting or very dim situation. Lighting for photographers, I'd say I'm gonna bring this argument up that lighting is borderline more important than lens, and I can make the argument switch in reverse. And I say that because back when they shot film on low light scenes, they had to deal with a lot of grain, and uh, still with even though we have cameras that go high ISOs, we still deal with grain when it comes to our images, and we can take those grain out in post, but it does make the image look painterly and pasty, and it does group a lot of the pixels together. And some people like that grainy look. It's true, but what we use light for is to And there's some like lights to use to flood a room. Like even if you want to make the room dark, you can still make it dark in post. But we don't. We can evenly lit the whole scenery and priority lit. You know the subjects and what you want to use, and have some practicals, which are like lamps, lights. Oh my God, what's going outside? We can use those things to evenly light everyone and all still have our subject or actors or talent stand out. And then in post you can tweak the setting to where it will actually meet or look like a dark scenario while not losing any details in the background. I think losing details in the background is just something that in post we always kick ourselves for, because a lot of times we want to edit these videos. A lot of the background, especially if you wait, that's right here. If you look around that kitchen area, whenever I edit colors, that area start banding. That area starts getting extremely noisy. There's actually just it goes crazy all over the place when it comes to color editing. Like in that same grain of wood, it from corner to corner, it would not register as red all the way. It would register as part red, and then the other part would be blue. Um, it is just like that. I'm not letting this because it's not a major project for me. So like, I'm not gonna get multiple lights just to spotlight and spot fill every area. This is for like the professional work and stuff that's going on magazines or the big theaters. And the reason why I say it's a bit more important than lens because uh, the thing about a camera, cameras good, cameras is important, but everything that's in front of that sensor is more important. What you put in front of that sensor is critical before you rely on anything in post. And that's the argument of like what's in front of the lens or the lens itself. The lens is super important because that's what gives the character of the image. Um, I used to be so finicky about like that until like I realized my favorite lens to watch TV shows and movies on is the Leica Similux, and I thought it was a Cook lens I really like the most. Cook lens is probably the lens for I'm going into cinematography lens, not photo lens. A lot of people hear Leica lens and they're like, oh yeah, that's god tier of photo lens. It is. It's extremely expensive and extremely limiting on what is compatible with. But I'm gonna go back to cinematography. I'm gonna go back to photo in a second. Leica lens is so visually pleasing. It's sharp and has that great warmth, and it looks like Cook, but mixed with Zeiss photography. It's butter. But when we talk about like making everything in front of the subject look good, well, lighting and visual interest, you can't do anything without that. Like as much as a lens look good, but lighting and visual interest is is optimal. And also, like having a lens that gives you spherical aberration and chromatic aberration all over the place, that's not going to do you great either. So that's why I say it's a toss up of which one is more important. For me, I say light is just more important. A lot of indie filmmakers will also say the same thing. Lens are important, but like getting if the scene looks good to your eye, if the scene does not look good to your eye, a lens is not gonna make it better. Sometimes, like some people will go like, "Oh yeah, just blow out the background and have a very fast lens," and one, the image could possibly look soft, and two, that's not really visually interesting. I always find the sweet spot is sometime T 2.8 and or f 2.8 for some of your photographers, and f 8. I like f 8 because I like to see more what's going on. There's a dramatic loss in light when you use f 8, so that's kind of why like light is actually kind of important, to actually just see everything. I want to see the background. Uh, Also, that's part of world building, even in photography and cinematography. You with photos. That's why like these street photography, this slum city photography, and then these videographers that travel the world, and like they vlog, but they vlog in a way that you can see the background. uh, that's why it's so interesting because it world builds. When you shoot, when you always obliterate the background, yeah, that has its time and place, but it you lose that world building aspect, and also a lot of time it comes off as a fake background. Even though it is not, and it can still look very good. And again, if the subject is the only important focus and nothing else matters, then yes. Um, so, well, lighting photography is, I'd say, um, as if you use it to help build visual interest. Of course, there's a subject matter and also color is also the visual interest, but and you can also interest it up with color and different lighting shape, like cutting out lights, having the lights only be a sliver right here, having light tubes everywhere or whatever, or neon lights everywhere in a dirty street alley. Um, Now, when it comes to buying light, I really do believe photographers should only buy just speed lights and really nothing else. Some you probably can get away with like a few RGB tubes just to make things interesting, but I wouldn't really say that you need every single possible light practical that could ever come up to make things interesting. They will come. You either can rent them or you can just get them as you need them. But there's if there's anything I can definitively say, if you have $500 or $400, yeah, I'd say $500 because you got to buy the accessories with it. If you have as a photographer, if you have $500, I would um that easy can get you a speed light, which automatically will improve your photography like 1,000 folds. Especially when it comes to making things easier when you do work for weddings or just clients, or just clients that are like just not a company. They want photos outside, family photos, or and various photos like that. This is not talking about nature photographers. Nature photographers, y'all don't need nothing. Going on to for video. Um, Now, this is a subject where I can go nichely talking about cinema, but also I want to mention first the people that need lighting tips, lighting help, but but they don't care that much about it. They just want the just to be better at lighting to so they can get it out the way, so they don't have to worry about um, that they try hard for whatever they're selling, whatever the message is, or whatever they're pursuing. But what's holding them back is bad lighting. If bad lighting is, if you're held back by bad lighting, most likely you're held back by bad audio too. But like audio is a separate video. You want for a human to look good without trying, you want something to mimic if the sun had a thin layer of cloud over it and is around 4 or 5 o'clock, and the sun is like diffused, hitting you directly in your face. If that's basically what you want. There are definitely diffuse LED panels they sell that for gamers that does this very well. They keep it up close to the subject and it's in the face. Having light behind you does not make you brighter. I am not sure why people I've seen on Zoom calls do this. It is probably one of the most I don't really think type of moments I've ever seen. Oh yeah, have the window behind you so everything's brighter. I'm like, what logic is that? Have you had the window in front of you so you could be lit up? I just I never could think that way. Also, they do not look at yourself when you record your own video. Don't you see that it doesn't work? Um, Zebra Zone, I believe, made a good point saying that like you're when you do something like that, your the automatic features of your webcam or your camera will grind really hard to try to get the ISO up to actually expose you right, because now that you have this light that's doing the opposite of brightening you up is actually making you a lot darker. Also, it just looks very, very unprofessional. And though like not a lot of things in life are that serious, we want to see you. Oh my God, that fridge is so loud. Everything's destroying my audio, guys. At least there's nothing that's bothering my light. Knock on wood. So, yeah, you just want one point of good soft light to hit your face. You don't want anyone hard light because that will make you look a lot older. It'll make you look like on your desk set is at the face of the sun. And also point out your flaws. If you have any crow's feet, if you have any mouth wrinkles, and also it will over highlight some of your facial hair, which actually in probably the webcam, your webcam will process it to the point of over sharpening that it will look gross. So there's that too. Soft light just makes it easier on the subject, and also the you'll never get it perfect, but for webcam and iPhones, the cameras that auto adjust everything by themselves, they process everything by themselves. You don't touch anything, you just take the picture or the video. Really, really soft light is super ideal for those cameras. There's actually times where people take photography with their phones, and they also and it would be on a webcam, and it would be really hard for me to believe. I'm like, do they use an external webcam? Are they using something better? It looks really good, and the reason why is big diffuse light and very even lighting in the background is ideal for those cameras. It makes them it's the best scenario for that camera. There's nothing about it that is struggling with. And going down to extreme, when it comes to lighting for video, the lighting for video, it's it's what makes the video look serious, look funny, whatever. Obviously, the subject can actually change it. They get to give the mood, and also sound design really have to play into it. It really, again, it depends on what you're doing. If you like to record yourself, one source of light is really all you really need. I do recommend get a really good one. Avoid the cheaper and cheaper one. Um, you can get a Godox SL160. You can get that. That will give you probably, I'll give you very similar to what I have right now. Get a softbox, and if it's just for yourself, you're gonna look great. It's gonna look amazing. If you have someone next to you as well, it's gonna evenly give you both great lights. Um, Lighting placement is super important. Don't think that having a light all the way across the room and you be on the other side, you're gonna get soft light in front of your face. It just, um, you just need it closer to get that nice soft look and to really make you stand out, because you just the closer to light you are, the brighter you are. And you don't have to have it at max settings. You actually can um, lower the light and get closer, so you could be perfectly exposed and nice and soft looking, and in the background it could be just a little bit dimmer and making it show that you're the subject, you're important. um, Now when we're talking about using video lights for film, to make movies, now you're gonna think about, like, the scale of it. Say you have a birthday party or something, or a wedding. All right, say you have a wedding. These people are paying you, like, hey, I I noticed that you have a lot of lights at home. You like to buy them. You like to collect Mo Richardsons. You like to collect airy sky panels and airy HMIs. Um, I'll pay you $8,000 to film my wedding, but I need you to bring your light. You decide to plug all your lights in there, the venue they're using, blow out the whole electricity, because why would anyone plug in that many airy maxes into one building? You get your generators and you light up the whole subject. You light up the room in a way that calls for visual interest. Now that does make things more complicated. When I say more complicated, lights is not complicated. Shaping light gets complicated because you need so much gear to shape light. There's a reason why every YouTuber does not have any HMIs or tungsten lights. And what HMIs and tungsten lights, actually, let me look up what HMIs stand for. Hydrargyrum medium arc iodine. These are extremely powerful lights, and when it comes to actually the technology in them, there's actually almost none. They're very, very simple light with basically a Fresnel lens into them, and what that does, it actually just widens and floods the room of light, or just focus it and have a bit more concentrated hot source, and that is very, very useful on set, and they're extremely powerful when it comes to lights in general. Most YouTubers, most of what people find out online, they'll measure in lumens and lux, but they will also, more importantly, compare it to a 1K. That's how you really emphasize, like, is this will this meet all the parameters I would ever need? If something reach up to a 1K, most of the time, as long as whatever you're doing is indoors, it will reach all those needs, no matter what, really. And HMIs are usually reach up to like 1K, 2K. Then there's 12K, I think 18K. Oh my God, what's going on out there? Y'all can hear that, right? YouTubers got money. Big YouTubers, they have money. And if you watch your favorite YouTubers, they don't even have to be like video nerds. And you see their setup a lot of time. If they're not just vloggers, if they're vloggers and nothing else but vloggers, they'd have like no setup really. But the ones that have like they're in their room or in a room or studio space where they keep going to, and it looks good. There's lighting. You can tell that there was a bit more professional touch into it. It's not just like a webcam on their desktop, and like you can see they're perfectly sharpened and focused, and the closet in the background is sharpened and focused. And like here and there, sometimes they're darker than their closet. The reason why like YouTubers don't get HMIs or tungsten light, even though they're extremely light, and as far as I know, I think HMIs are dimmable, so they're flexible in that sense. And you think to yourself, like, a Mo Richardson Jr. 2K, which is super bright. A 2K is stupid bright. In some scenes you can fake the sun in a window with that, and it's just it gets really hot. Don't get me wrong. And you think to yourself like, oh yeah, why don't they use those? Those are great. And then when you think about like pricing, a Mo Richardson 2K costs like around like $1,300. I'm sorry, not thousand, $1,300. And I think a Arri HMI M costs around like $2,000. But when you compare it to like aperture lights, which almost all YouTubers have, like all YouTubers like use, and they don't have just one, they have like minimum 3, sometimes 4. You think about that, and aperture lights, especially when they first came out, a lot of them have the 300D, which costs $1,100, and I believe that one is around 1K, 1K Mo Richardson. And you would think to yourself like, if they produce twice as much for just $200 more, why don't YouTubers get that? And the reason is because we're talking about when you talk about lights, you also talk about the overall functionality and how does it integrate in your ecosystem. And I know that took a long time just to mention like how lights get into your ecosystem, how the material and the housing of the light affects your ecosystem. Same reason I mentioned about the speed lights. The speed lights are small, compact. They're like, actually, I have a PS4 controller. They're around like this width. They're very, very, very small. Someone can flip it, throw it in a hand, catch it. You can hand it to a little girl that's like 4 years old, and she's gonna have no problem carrying it. Even giving them an aperture light or even my Godox, those little girls would drop it. It's on the heavier side. It's twice as thick, and I think 30% longer. It's a lot heavier. Don't get me wrong, these what I have here is not the heaviest LEDs, but they can get pretty up there. These are not standalone. The batteries are not built into. Actually, you know what? There is no batteries. There's no batteries built into any of these pro level of LED lights. Some batteries are built into some miniature LED panels. I'm not talking. Panels are a different thing. I don't like to use panels that much unless it's like a very very high quality panel. I find myself wanting a primary powerful source like Aperture and Godox. Um, I forgot the other brand name. And the reason why YouTubers use this is because it's easy to modify it. And when I say easy, I mean you don't need much more material to modify it. It has a Bowens mount, which is actually extremely common nowadays, and a lot of manufacturers are making materials that attach to the mount. And so you have the light source, you have the mount. The mount clamps on, and you can have almost as if it's light enough or if it's heavy enough, anything that go in front of it. That's why you see a lot of lights with soft boxes, and a lot of YouTubers use those. You can't do that with tungsten or HMIs. The tungsten HMI bulbs, because they're not LED, one, they draw in so much power and it emits an incredible amount of heat. LEDs emit a lot of heat. I've never got close to an HMI or tungsten, but the fact that on this produce so much heat and they're very comfortable putting diffusion just 5 inches away from it, and they say that it's dangerous to get blankets like within 1 feet of it, of tungsten or HMI. That kind of just tells me like how much heat HMIs HMIs and LEDs HMIs and tungstens put out. You need a glove because they don't want your finger oils on the bulbs, because I believe it can immediately ignite or something like that. Same reason why you don't want to put your fingerprint or finger oils on your car light. And you're not just stuck with just with a softbox with a Bowens mount. You can use a flood, which is what I'm using right now, a bowl that help reflect light and just beam it towards you, and it's a bit more of a concentrated source. You also can attach a Fresnel. You also can attach a basically a lens for your light. These lights are significantly smaller than HMIs and tungstens. We're talking about like 1/4 of the size. They're much lighter. They're much more portable. They draw up way less power. And also, most of the time, even though there's no batteries built into it, the pack, the everything that is used to power the light through a wall mount, and the unit between that has a smart connected features and dimming settings, those usually have like battery adapted V mounts or Sony L type batteries or gold mount batteries on the side of it, so that you can power it that way. Because any batteries that's small enough to fit inside these lights it will not put out enough power to light it for a long time. That's why these are meant for people who are making videos, and the speed lights are meant for people that take photography. And there's a time and place for people to rent HMIs. I've yet to find people that own HMIs that are not like just small. For me, I would like to own one just to use it. I just know that it'll draw up an incredible amount of power, but I just want to know what that 2K light look like. And if you guys want to know that what's overkill, there's the Arri Max 1018. That one is massive bright. I don't think you can plug into anywhere because nothing can provide enough power to actually to light it up. They use this light to mimic the sun, and I mean it because there's a movie with Dwayne The Rock Johnson, and the cinematographer was saying like, oh, we wanted the sun on the side that we're gonna record. So we're gonna record from the left side to their right, and we want to be behind them. We want the sun to be on that side. So the problem was we already made the schedule, and that was not gonna happen. The sun was on the other side, and we could have flipped everything around. It would have been no problem. But there was cars in the parking lot and all our cars there, and so what they did was they got gigantic black panels, covered all up. They got an Airy Max on the right side, fake the sun. They put a lot of fog in the air, but when I say in the air, I'm talking about they have an industrial machine that hangs it, I think, close to 40, 50 feet in the air, really high up. They had to have this industrial machine because the light is super heavy itself, and it mimics the sun. It looks just like the sun, and that there's a place for everything. And knowing these products' place and the marketing, who are these for? Um, Now the Kodak Speedlight, could I, if I ever got one, could I use it? Yeah, absolutely. I take photography, I take photos. I believe the light comes out of them are clean. It's very affordable. It's also one of those things that help you step up as a photographer. So instead of just showing up with a camera, if you show up with these lights, these beauty, that you can get that extra beauty light out of them. Uh, a lot of women want to feel beautiful from their photos, and any gear that helps further that, they love it. A lot of and clients don't know what the difference of lenses are, but they do know when do you have more things around you or lights, and they say like, oh my God, they know what they're doing. It just it gives that extra confidence when it comes to your clients. I know you probably hear all that slapping. That's my knees. And when it comes to working environment, I think between Godox and Aperture, I would probably get, if money was not an option, I'll get four of these. Aperture just released, I think, the 600D, which is their brightest, which I believe is the closest one that would mimic a 2K Mo Richardson. And I would probably get four of those, mainly because if I do any corporate client works, which I would love to, but right now, because of 19, it it's making it difficult for anyone to actually be in a room together with anyone, and it's kind of hard to offer services to people through webcam. But if you are, it is important that you look good. So get your lighting set up straight. Not complicated, unless you're trying to shape up a whole room. My bad, I did mention that, and I didn't thoroughly say why it's complicated. Shaping light is complicated because if I use a tungsten or HMI, and I said, oh, I want that light softer. Now, first of all, these things are heavy. They're already on C stands. They're not on light stands. They're already on $100 C stands. I had to get another C stand. But with the arms, that will jump it up to 120, 150, and hold up probably an 8x8 diffusion, which also costs, I forgot how much that costs, but it's just more money, more material, and also more space that it takes up. This LED lights with softbox, they take up some area room, but when it comes to actual footprint, they don't take up that much. They, but the HMIs, they kind of need a lot of air and a lot of space between them. That's why, like, a lot of times you see studio setup or behind the scenes of a show that you like, or a movie, and they're indoors, or a music video. You see that the area that the video is taking place, is much smaller than the entire space of that studio or whatever, and that's because like they need so much room for just different layers and different style of lighting to actually execute what the look they want. And also cutting light. All right, so there was one scene. Best way to explain it is like a family of four at a dinner table, right? And they sit. They don't sit on all four corners. They actually just sit like one person on the. It's a rectangular table. One person all the way at the end, and three people in a row on one side, and they had a candle in the middle. Now, they use that candle as motivation light. When they say motivation light, they're gonna just add light to sweeten and spice in the look of the scene, but they want some objects and practicals there to help make sense that light is there. It doesn't make sense to have a nice beauty light when you're in a dark room. Like, where's the light coming from? Just like when you see those bathroom commercials where they go in their bathroom and the subject looks super beautiful, but you never notice that like uh, that beauty is not truly from the light bulbs above, because you guys know what your bathroom lights make you look like. What they do is that because there's lights in the bathroom, they use that as motivation to give accenting, beautiful, great lights. So in this table, they have this candle in the middle in a jar, and what they did was they had a gigantic, basically soft box, and it was an actual box this time, and it was raining down. It had black flags on each side, so the light doesn't spill through the side. It was just directly 100% down. It beamed straight down, and they had this small LED pocket light that had barn doors. They had a C stand hanging over just above view of camera and aim it at the girl at the end. And also they had a black flag half like 5 inches above that, so that the light doesn't spill beyond the girl. It actually just lit up the girl from here to here to make it feel like that candlelight is lighting them up. Even though, in reality, actual film, that if you actually take a camera and they only use that candlelight, that scene would be super dark and grainy. It'll look horrible and it would not be visually pleasing at all. So far, just for that scene, they used probably. Well, they also had a microphone above her. They had, let me see what else. I believe there was more. It was more, but I can't remember. But I know altogether they probably use 6 C stands. I think they use, and I think 5 negative fill, which is just the black. Anything that's black. Negative fill could be a blanket. Negative fill can be a piece of paper or a piece of fabric that's rigid with these metal rods around it, so it doesn't lose shape. So they have 5 negative fills. For film, it just depends on the look you're going for, and it can get complicated in that sense because they want to sell the image that the the subject looks good, it furthers the story, and the light that motivates it is actually what motivates that light, and it's not any external source. And that's people call it Hollywood magic. I would just call it like a very artistic way of just real life photoshopping, basically, or real life editing. I know this bit was a bit quite of a long talk, and some of y'all said like, "Oh, you didn't talk about everything about lights," and of course I didn't. It's not meant to teach you anything. This was just a small conversation of how to think simple about lights and it why each brand and light tools have its own audience that they're marketing towards. But I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a great day. Peace.